we were not able to get traction, and we got these mails from Facebook that we have these bots, etc., etc. And although, I mean, our campaigns were completely organic from the day one. Yeah. So it was very difficult for us to understand. And finally, we understood that ultimately it's their arena, their space, the Facebooks and the Instagrams of the world. It's their space. We are just riding on it. I mean, we should not take them for granted.
True.
The tomorrow, and they are just there for their business. They're making money. Yeah. So we have to be very careful when we are depending too much on them. We really, I think, should have our own website. We should have our own service, like a CRM or a service, platform, because otherwise it will be very difficult for us to sustain, because tomorrow their algorithms change and we won't be able to sustain.
Correct. Ruchita, you work with a lot of brands, and you study consumer behavior day in, day out. So how did pandemic change the overall consumer behavior and pivoted the businesses online? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so when COVID was happening, obviously initially it was something that nobody was prepared for. And, it took a little while for everyone to, and when I say everyone, I mean both businesses as well as consumers, right? So there was this whole disruption that was unplanned for. And, we had come out with this analysis at that point of time that we believed there were going to be three types of changes. One was going to be a shock change, right? So because of all of a sudden a new environment, there will be certain behaviors that will kick in, which will perhaps not sustain post the pandemic. And we see that play out. So, our need for buying face masks, our need for sanitizers, our need for, household, care kind of products has seen a normalization. While it may still sustain, but it's not the same as what it was during COVID. The second type of changes that we saw were like step changes, certain changes in habits and behavior that will perhaps last longer. Maybe again, not at the same pace at, what was triggered. And, we put healthcare in that space, as Dr. Naman was talking about, some of those, or even edtech to an extent, right? So some of these behaviors, which were earlier offline predominantly, now because of convenience and time and cost saving, a lot of consumers have sustained that behavior. And the reason not just convenience, to be honest. I think they've sustained because they are getting a wider variety of options available online. Versus, earlier, for accessing the same variety, they had to go to multiple offline points. So I think it's the presence of variety of options. It's also the flexibility of payments, the convenience of delivery options, the convenience of returns. So I think it's the whole end-to-end consumer experience that now that they've gotten used to it, that is sustaining. The third type of, change that we kind of had said that will sustain are, the digital adoption type of changes, which while may have accelerated because of COVID, but they were anyways, trends that we were seeing early shoots of, and they have sustained, so when we look at the time that an average Indian spends on a smartphone today, right, it on an average is 6 hours. And, most of this time is kind of really going in watching videos, playing games, or, accessing some information or education, right? So I think that is a behavior that saw a rise, and it is now staying there, right? Like even on YouTube, for example, we see, that individuals spend about 67 minutes on YouTube on a daily basis. And that is very, very high, right? So it's almost 1/6 of the time that they are spending on their smartphones. So I think that kind of change is sustaining. The other kind of change, that was already happening is digital payments, right? The digital payments as a behavior is something that has accelerated and is, India's one of the largest digital payments economy today. So I think those are some of those other changes that are here to stay. And, I think whether it's steel, whether it's healthcare, whether it's, apparel, or whether it's, like FMCG, the deodorant purchase, I think that those are changes that we're definitely seeing sustain over COVID. And they are here to stay. I think, it's leapfrog the Indian consumer to spend a lot more time on digital. Earlier we would always talk about that, digital is coming, but I think digital is here now, and our consumers are living in the digital world.
So Akshay, taking on the point from where Ruchita left, talking about digital adoption. Okay. So how do you see, I mean, like, consumers have, adopted the digital medium, and adopting the digital medium, it's like, kind of a behavioral change. And do you see this as a long-term change, or do you see this as a short-term change brought in effect due to the pandemic?
I agree quite well with what you was saying, that there are three different buckets in which we can look at these changes. So there was a very nice survey done by McKinsey or Ernst and Young, I don't remember, which said, they surveyed the Indian consumer, and 54% of the Indian consumers said that we will continue to do online shopping. So there are certain behaviors which are not going to change post the pandemic. Let's also understand what has happened in the pandemic. Pandemic has pushed the digital agenda by at least 10 years ahead. And even if certain changes get rebound, you are still going to have a leapfrog of 7 years. So what has happened is everything has become digital. People's habits have changed. Your way you look at a digital platform is much different, because you are always on a digital platform, whether you are doing a meeting, whether you are looking at an inspection, whether you are looking at bringing your team online. So there are a lot of things that have actually happened in your behavioral change. And just to give another statistic, the smartphone adoption has increased 100% in the last 3 years. So now everybody, instead of looking at digital on a laptop, is looking at digital on a smartphone. So there are a lot of things which are not going to be replaced. For example, today the way we interact with our customer is also digital. So we have gone ahead with CRM. We have gone ahead with opening our online portals for the shopping. We have gone ahead by giving the customers a total digital experiences by saying, everything that you needed to call or you needed to check with the mill, you can actually go to your customer portal, or you can go to somewhere, some application to check, and you can get that information on a pull basis rather than on a push basis. So a lot of things are changing. Consumers are becoming more demanding. Coming to the B2B and the B2C consumer, the B2C consumers were the first ones to catch on, because the B2B are, let's say, the more informed, having the more purchasing power. But what we see across is that even the B2B consumers are more happy to do a lot of stuff that they were actually doing physically on the digital platform. It is not only more efficient, it reduces their cost, it is faster. The mantra, as I would say, on the digital is speed, agility, and innovation. So as long as you are able to provide the three, it's a success. Another big issue that we have seen on the trend is the customer loyalty. So customer loyalty is something that is hanging by the thread on the digital world. We see that customers have become more prone to experiment, because everything is so easy and convenient to available to experiment. Your requirements to buy a new brand becomes much easier on the digital platform, because it's available right across. So the customer loyalty is another thing where I think the organizations have to really work in harder to see how do you retain this customer loyalty in a digital world. Again, to sum it up, I think digitalization is the part of the jigsaw which was missing to be an omnipresent, omni-channel player, and everybody has to look at the omni-channel presence today.
Shreyansh, Shreyansh, I mean, like, how did your digital journey, started? You lead, a retail brand. So, I mean, like, how do you leverage digital medium, to connect with your client, to connect with your customers, talk to them, to drive conversations, and to even sell? And when did this? I mean, like, how did you jump onto the digital medium, and when did this start?
First of all, as you said, we were in retail segment, and particularly in the April segment, so we were the worst affected, and most of our shows were closed. And particularly, we were dealing in tier 2 and tier 3 cities of India. So I will say I will divide digital into two parts. One is the online sales part, and other will be the digital media part. Okay. So in terms of media, I will say there has been a lot of additional spending that we were used to do on traditional media, but right now we are doing on the online digital platform like Facebook, maybe on Instagrams, or maybe different mediums that we are using for digital. So we have seen a lot of changes in tier 2, tier 3 customer behaviors, because as OTT platforms and everything has, I will say, gained the trust in the mind of the people, and the people have started giving more time on their phone. Initially, it was only in tier 1, but now tier 2 and tier 3 also spend a lot of time on their phones. So I will say in terms of data, but in terms of digital sales, there were two parts. One was during the pandemic. During the pandemic, the online sales were huge. We were not a part of that particular scene. But once I will say once the pandemic gradually started getting over, then the behavior of the customer started to change again. Because the touch and feel is something that the Indian consumer wants. So I will say this has been the first summer post 2 years of COVID, and it has been extraordinary in terms of sales in physical retail stores.
All right.
Because all the festival buying, wedding buying, and everything in terms of April. So we have seen a lot of, I will say, footfall driven. Particularly, this was one of the highest sales. I will post and pre both pandemic in retails.
So when you talk about
also.
when you talk about the e-com sales, how are you actually driving your e-com sales, through the digital marketing efforts? So I'm actually trying to understand more on, what are your digital marketing efforts, that you are, putting in.
Actually, what our strategy is now, initially we were doing the online structure, but the problem that we were facing is in our segment, we are a value fashion segment. So the
Absolutely.
price being a very important part that take place. So we give all our consumer a consumer surplus. But what we were seeing is that whenever we are trying to get on our website, maybe or on the likes of any marketplace, maybe it's Flipkart, Amazon, or anything else. So we were getting a good, I will say, good sales, but we have to inflate a MRP also in our segment, because we are a retailer, so we don't manufacture. We are a trader technically. Okay, but what we did during this period is now, in terms of digital media, we focus a lot. So instead of trying to sell online, we pushed our customers to come and shop in our physical stores only. So that was the strategy that we took post pandemic. And I will say we are getting a good from online. We are getting a good numbers of customers who are coming to stores and buying, with lots of different offers and promotions that is only for given to the online customers. Maybe on the Facebook, to the particular, some types of strategic offers are placed. If you go and maybe check in from the store on Facebook page or something like that, you will get particular vouchers or something like that. So as a result, we are getting lots of sales, but the sales are generating at the physical point only, but through the online medium.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, actually, which Shreyans has made. He's using the digital medium to actually drive footfall to his stores, using different mediums like, Facebook and other forms of marketing, and he's bringing the footfall back to the stores. So, can you share, some of the interesting businesses, that, you have seen pivoting online? What are some of the challenges, that they were trying to solve, and how did actually digital came to their help?
I think it's a very interesting experience that Shreyans is talking about. We saw something similar even with another offline apparel affordable segment, this thing. And I remember going the next level of support to them, that while we kind of did a pin code mapping, we were able to actually address the campaign specifically to people who were residing in the pin codes around a specific offline store, and reducing any wastage or any pilferage of the dollars that are spent here or the rupee that's spent here. But we also took it to the next level for this brand, where based on the consumer interest as well as the search behavior or affinity behavior of kind of picked up from the kind of content they were watching on YouTube, we were also able to actually help the brand curate the type of merchandise that they kept in the store. Okay. So for example, a store in Patna would stock up on a different type of merchandise versus, let's say, a store in Calcutta. And so we were able to take it to that next level of customization and personalization in an offline world. And everyone understands that digital can actually offer avenues for customization and personalization. But this was a very good example and a rich example of leveraging that digital strength to deliver impact on an offline store. I'll also talk a little bit about what we generally kind of talk to businesses whenever we are talking to them first. Most businesses, much like what everyone's talking about, they want to obviously be present where the consumer is present, and they obviously want an impact on their sales. So that's how it kind of really starts. But what's very interesting is that traditionally, we were all used to thinking of a consumer journey in a linear fashion, that the customer becomes aware of a brand, then there is consideration, then you influence that consideration, and it moves into purchase, and that is no longer happening. The consumer journey has become non-linear, which is to say that while the consumer will start off with a phase of exploration, they will shortlist some products and brands into the consideration zone, then they enter the phase of evaluation. They'll check for reviews, they'll compare prices, they'll look at some YouTube videos to figure out, what are other consumers saying or how to use that product. And oftentimes if they don't find themselves land up on a single product, they go back into a phase of exploration, and this iteration keeps going on. And I think that is a big change that brands and companies and as marketeers we are having to adapt ourselves to. That how is it that we can be present in this non-linear consumer journey? And I have examples from actually each of the industries that are represented here on the panel. So Akshay represents the steel industry, and we've worked with a comparable infrastructure company in Shree Cement, where they wanted to build awareness for their supply chain and their B2B in Bihar. And the problem statement was really that how do we show up as a brand that has more brand salience and brand awareness in a particular market that they wanted to go deeper in. Similarly, for healthcare, we worked with brands like CK Birla Hospital or Manipal Hospital or AMRI Hospital to do both things. So Naman had spoken about reaching out to the patients. And some hospitals have actually been able to leverage digital to even reach out to international patients, because India also, many hospitals have been able to show up as a medical tourism destination, right? So they've been able to expand their market and cultivate incremental customers. But some of the brands in healthcare have actually also used it as an effective mean to get in touch with healthcare professionals. Because you also want to be making sure that you have the right healthcare professionals providing the necessary treatment and diagnosis. So that's another example. I already spoke about the offline, retail channel. So this is Vishal Mega Mart actually that we worked with. We've also worked with some jewelry brands, by the way. Where, for example, Tanishq now has this omni channel. Where you can do like a video consultation, then you can also have a product delivered to your house. You can choose and send back the one that you don't need, and you can also drive offline. So those are some other very interesting things that we've done. And from Saurabh's industry, we've actually worked very closely with one of your competitors, which is the Layer Shot. And they wanted to actually reach out to a wider audience. So we were able to really get them higher unique reach, but at a much more cost-effective, cost. I mean, in a much more cost-effective manner. So much so that they saw a 73% uplift in their sales on a monthly basis. So those are, like a variety of businesses that we've partnered with, and there are some very interesting learnings that come from this. But now I think there is a lot of depth that does exist in the market, on getting to the next level of sophistication and personalization in the consumer journey.
Interesting. Coming to you, Saurabh. So when you plan your annual, marketing spends, okay. So currently, how do you allocate your, digital marketing dollars? I mean, if you have to allocate money on the traditional mediums and digital mediums, what is the mix of, traditional versus digital currently in your category, especially for your brands?
Particularly, I can talk about myself because the digital spends are not published generally for the brands, and there are different kind of activities which are happening. They're too diverse, and it's very difficult to keep an account of what competition is doing. Unlike television, where it's simpler as compared, you can track, so or you can make an index in television, but you cannot have an index on digital space. So we are looking at internal thing, and whatever the internal sales contribution is within that sales. For example, if we're doing 100 crores in sales in digital, so accordingly we have put some money on particular that sales itself. So we are not saying that this is the entire pie and you take this pie. Rather we're looking at that specific business only, and within that business we are looking at what spends we can make, which we were making last year, and then what kind of growth we're looking at. Luckily, it doesn't match with, so the digital calendar, the whole planogram doesn't match with the financials, the Indian, the March, April thing. So the digital calendar actually begins on 1st January. So we already get a heads up, what's going to happen, etc., and what we are aiming at in terms of the targets in sales, etc. After speaking to the retailers and other partners. And from there on, we obviously, before we close the year, we already have budget in hand. So we are not really looking at what we're doing otherwise. but we'll specifically look at digital because obviously that spend is sort of, responsible for that particular business, which is e-com. Having said that, we also have understood that the television, or what we're doing, which we've been doing all this while, is also critical. I think it's one of the cheapest medium still, and where we are able to tell the entire brand story, give the entire message, the product story through the commercial. And I think television has learned a lot from the digital space, where we have created this, media, specific videos we have done, the demo videos, etc., what we have done online. I think television has learned from it, and the integrations are, I think, the television is learning, they are learning from the digital space. There's so many new things are happening, especially with the music videos or in program advertising, etc. So I think television has really learned a lot. Generally speaking, I believe that television for me is critical because that is the main demand generator for me. It creates perception. It creates you can say the real, the aura around the brand, what you are, where you are, because obviously the size of the screen is there. I also am a firm believer of cinema because of the size of the screen, because the kind of impression, the undivided attention you get over there is phenomenal.
And if I have to ask the same question for digital, so what does digital do for you? Does it, create the brand building for you?
So I am on the POS space, the point of sale space.
Okay.
We don't do a lot of different kinds of media because we've been doing this media for so long. We have done YouTube, we've done roadblocks, we've tried everything, and this is where we found solace.
Okay.
And it was adding up basically.
Okay.
What we were spending and what we're getting, and when you start getting and you're able to relate both the numbers, then it becomes easier or simpler for the management to take a decision on spends, etc., and you can really go bullish, etc., and then you can devise a strategy which can be for television and for online. So on most of our brands we have these celebrities, like I know the typical advertising world is not, they don't fancy the celebrity so much, but it has really worked for us. I must say it has really worked for us. In today's time they're called influencers, but back in the days they were called the celebrities, and in my opinion they're the influencer. Okay. Right. So the influencers who are there, who are the commoners like us, or maybe better than us, these people are actually influencing them, because I remember I had attended this conference, and they were talking about the celebrity thing, etc. And that time they were mentioning about Salman Khan, and it was about the man's man. Yeah, because so this term was used then, and it stayed with me, and hence I'm just re-quoting the same, because I believe that somewhere you need persuasion, online. Obviously, you know the brand, and on the banner when you have so we have tested that. We have no face, we have a face, we have a celebrity face, and we have a celebrity with someone doing something. So we have tested all those things back in the days, and we got certain results in front of us, and hence, it is the old strategy. In today's time, it has become the digital strategy.
Right.
The banner performs, basically. That's all you need to start with, And obviously, for later, when you are building the, the image around the brand, etc., the branding, which the brand image. For that, obviously, there's so much you can do. Like, you can merge the BTL with the digital space. So back in the days, I remember there was a very peculiar campaign I would like to mention. This was when in 2010.
So I suggest we'll come to that campaign.
So yeah, of course.
In a while
this
later.
is what I would like to add. Thank you.
Let me take the question to Naman.
Please.
Okay. Naman, in your opinion, what are the advantages of adapting to the digital medium? You are spending on the digital medium, reaching out to your prospective audiences. So what are the kind of benefits that, it has added to you?
Well, first will be that we require less staff as far as digital marketing is concerned, because management of staff itself is a big issue. So now we are directly able to connect with our customers, and it has decreased our manpower cost. So that is a good advantage for us. Secondly, we are able to calculate very easily, like how much we are investing and how much we are getting from the online business,
Okay.
from the online marketing. So in that way, we also know that, we can push and increase our reach to a number of people, and we are getting exponential returns on that.
Okay.
Third, it has really widened our reach. We are able to reach people who we were not able to reach before. We are able to also reach a younger audience. Like earlier, we were restricted to mainly, the other age group, but now we are targeting the young people. And plus, consciously, unconsciously, while advertising through the digital media, we are, sort of creating a brand for ourselves wherein they are remembering our name. So the more they see the name, the more they see either in a banner on a website, or they see an ad on Google, or they see us on the top of their list when they are searching something. So that is really going into the mind of the people that we are also an important player in our field, in our area. And then they are getting
kinds of build the recall, actually. I mean, like it helps in building the right recall. Shreyans, coming to you, when you plan your digital marketing initiative, so what are the kind of objectives that you have in mind?
First of all, I would just like to add few things. As you said now about the marketing budgeting plan. So initially, before COVID, we were used to spend only 3 to 4% on the digital front.
Okay.
But as of now, our spending has increased from 3 to 15%.
Okay.
But still, we are a traditional heavy brand that way, because we have to do lots of BTL activities because we are in high streets. So, but there's a huge rise in the spending in digital front. Now, digital has helped us in many ways. First of all, it is, as you said, now it's a brand recall that isn't done, because most of our audience the target audience is between 20 to 30 years of age, who are mostly on all the social platforms. Okay. Even I will say ki post pandemic, it has helped us to reach a huge, I will say, a follower list in terms of our brand. We are similar to Vishal, as Vijita mentioned that time. So we are also in that segment only. And our target audience is purely a person who is having an average smartphone of around 7,000 to 8,000 rupees.
Right.
Okay. So what we are seeing is that as I said, in terms of digital media spending is going to rise in every front, even in the traditional model also, because it has give us better ROI in terms of understanding. And traditional model, somehow we don't get to know about the ROI. It's just that we are having a market service done, maybe a spark in weekend sale by giving a paper ad. So, but there is no thumb rule, or there is no scientific conclusion to it. Okay. But whereas digital gives you the exact how much impression, how much reach has been there. As she said, by tagging the pin code, by SEO, we can know a lot of things in digital front. So one is brand recall. Second thing is, as I said, most of our audience are that younger audience, and they are going into those platforms. So I see lots of brand building exercise to be done on the digital front. But in terms of sales front, I will say we will be having a balanced approach. Both online and physical, I will say digital are going to go hand in hand. What we have seen from the customer behavior.
Coming to you, Akshay. So when you like in the start, I mean, like you mentioned about how B2B brands are now catching up on digital spending and overall digitalization. Okay, so when you plan your digital marketing activities, do you actually keep the metrics in mind to determine the ROI of those activities?
So B2B generally is slightly more nascent onto the digital platform than the B2C segment. I put my digital budgets into 3 buckets. One is the digital marketing, as you clearly say, the pure marketing or the advertisement budget. The other is the digitalization budget. What kind of tools I am putting to make the journey easier for the customer? It's not a linear journey. It's a more crisscrossing journey. And the third bucket is again the e-sales or the digital sales bucket. Okay. I'm basically putting the 3 buckets separately. So together, I think the heaviest bucket for us is the tools that we are putting up in terms of digitalization. In terms of digital marketing, as I said, we are a little nascent onto this, but we are looking at 10 to 15% of our marketing budget to be looked out there, because the return on investment is quite easy to manage or to measure. So, for example, if you are doing a campaign and you are basically giving the link to your website to come there, you can actually measure what was the traffic before the advertisement or before the campaign and after the campaign. Similar things you can actually do if you put up a promo code and you see how many people are actually using that promo code to buy online. Then you can also do the search engine optimization. And again, you see, when you are doing a little bit of the inorganic on that side, how much traffic comes to you. So there are means to measure the ROI on the digital side. But again, to come to that, the B2B is slightly nascent where we do not have a clear-cut policy right now. But we are devising it. This year probably will be between 10%. But I would not say that we have a clear, fast rule to say we should spend this much of the budget, percentage of the budget on the digital. But this will happen through the next couple of years, where we look at the ROIs, where we measure the ROIs and the effectiveness of the digital campaign. Also, steel, the industry I represent, or cement, the industry. These are all heavy good industries which are very physical in nature. So what we try and do in terms of when we are looking at a e-sales point. So we have to really look at different market segments. As Ruchita was saying, go deep into each market segment. So if I am trying to sell digitally, I cannot digitally sell pan-India because I need to have the physical infrastructure to service the pan-India.
Right.
So what we are doing is wherever we are going with the infrastructure and wherever we are putting the digital layer on top of it, target audience exactly and target audience. And then once this audience comes onto the digital platform to buy, we are able to measure it. So that's where we are on the digital marketing.
One thing which is very clear, after hearing all of you, I mean, Akshay, Saurabh, Shreyans, and Naman, so that your digital marketing spends year on year, have been increasing. They're getting into the brand recall side. They're going on to depending upon the genre of depending on the category, they're going into the brand recall. They're going to sales. Ruchita, I want to bring you in here. I mean, you're from Google. I mean, how the Google products, I mean, can come in handy, to these players, in increasing their scale, reaching out to the right audiences, connecting with, the right audiences, so that the right search can be made. How can it support them?
Actually, before I answer that, Devesh, I just wanted to kind of come in and acknowledge some of the things that all three have said, Akshay, Saurabh, and Shreyans as well. I think all three of them said things that are relevant for them. And, Saurabh, from our experience as well, we always recommend brands to continue to be multi-channel and not necessarily be just with one channel, whether it's digital or traditional. But I think what Akshay and Shreyans are also saying is also equally true. And, that's represented in some additional data points that I'd like to just table here. So if you were to really look at the growth of digital AdX or, investment in digital in the last 1 year, digital has grown 30% in comparison to 2% over print. And what is expected this year is that for the first time, digital will actually overtake TV and perhaps constitute 45% of the Indian spending on marketing, right? And the reason why 45% is going to be coming from digital is because it's working for brands, because it is giving results which are measurable, specific, measurable, and are working. Having said which, I totally agree with you as well. There are still benefits of leveraging cross-channel. Some very interesting stats, and kind of I'm going to blend this with the question that you've asked me, Devesh, right? How is it that Google solutions can help? And I'll again bring forth some of the facts of India today. Right. So 692 million is the internet penetration in the country today, expected to become 1 billion by 2025. Now, out of this, the growth in the last 1 year has come from, women. So 7 out of 10 new internet users have been women. The growth rate of greater than 44 years of age, because, there was this mention of that, the younger Indians embrace digital faster. I think that used to be the case. That may not be the case as we speak today. So the 2021 data point is that greater than 44 years has actually seen a 44% increase. Another interesting stark, data point, which is very interesting, is that 55% of rural households have internet penetration, and online digital commerce in rural India has actually seen a 45 to 46% growth. So, clearly that's really the adoption of digital that's happening, across not just consumption of content and watching videos, but also digital commerce. The combination of comfort with digital payments as well as familiarity with digital commerce is what is driving some of this growth. Now, how can Google's product help, right? So out of the billion searches that happen on Google on a daily basis, we see 15% net new searches on a daily basis.
Okay.
Now, it is this interest that the brands can capture, and we can help them with suggesting the right campaign setups, what keywords to go with, what kind of campaigns will work depending on what is the target audience that you want to address. And even Akshay was mentioning this, that you can be actually very specific. You don't have to go broad. You can be very specific to a specific to a geography, to an audience segment, demographics, etc., and other signals that digital provides you. We also see a lot of overlap in searches between YouTube and search.
Mhm.
So earlier, consumers used to only go to search for finding something when they were in the market, or if they were in the phase of exploration. Now they're also going to YouTube. So that's the other property that Google solutions can help. So
Okay.
whether it's YouTube, whether it's YouTube Shorts, between these two, it is one of the largest media destinations in the country today, with almost 450 million users which come to YouTube on a monthly basis. With the watch time that I spoke about, so we have specific campaigns that can address awareness needs, branding needs, but also performance needs. So we have video action campaigns that we can set up for you, where you can actually translate your entire upper funnel to mid funnel to bottom funnel actions, or marketing plan on YouTube itself. The third is really the display solution that we have, and I would like to compare that to the print medium.
Okay.
There are multiple studies that we've done with brands like Home Center, Big Bazaar, etc., where we've actually been able to deliver the same impact as print at lesser investment than print. So, I would actually, the way I'd like to normally talk about this, right? Think of Google Solutions as a one-stop shop for your needs, right? So for TV comparable, you have YouTube. For print comparable, you have display, and search is an add-on that you can get from one platform, and you can actually capture the consumer journey across all these properties. And actually that's the area where we have teams, including my team, where we come in and work with your companies or your brands or even your agencies to help suggest the right media plan, help execute that media plan, and also handhold this journey to make sure that it is delivering the results and the marketing objectives that you set out to do. So that's really how we kind of work very closely with brands. So it's a very customized, bespoke kind of a support that we offer.
Interesting.
Devesh, just one point I wanted to add on what Ruchita said. We have been using the Google ad, and we found that as the most effective medium amongst all the social media that we have been doing. But on top of this, I just wanted to add one more thing. When you are going for any kind of marketing, whether it is digital, print, or TV, you need to actually invest in continuously understanding the consumer mindset. You need to actually know your consumer. What is his consumer behavior? How is it changing? And amongst your consumer, you must know what is your segmentation. So, for example, for a steel company, I have a segmentation that could be auto, that could be construction, that could be PV, that could be infra, that could be something. So, do I really need to go for companies with the digital marketing? Probably no. Because they know, if it's a B2B segment, they know where is ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel, what is my capability, and we do have a daily discussion with them. But for the MSME, which probably we are not finding the last mile customer, yes, that is where the effectiveness increases. So as a marketing professional, you actually really have to know your customer. You need to know your target audience, and then, devise a strategy to say, this is the media that fits best for, this kind of consumer. This media, I will target this. This is the exploratory media. And this is where I'm putting in a budget for innovation to try and see how it will work for me. And that is the best strategy that suits a omni-channel strategy, a strategy that actually serves to the customer's requirements. And also, I must say, even if you are, understanding the customer requirements, these are evolving customer requirements. Every 2 or 3 years, the customer behavior keeps changing. Or your organization needs to understand, you need to actually nowadays, of the digital world, employ digital native. I call the guys, who are born with a mobile phone as digital native. So these are the people who will keep guiding you on the evolving customer behavior, in the Gen X. So that's how you will have to devise your marketing strategy to say what suits which segment of my customer the best. I use that medium.
Absolutely. And these are the words of wisdom, and actually they stand true, in the current day and age, where, brands are now trying to, strengthen their, digital marketing and they're upping their spends on it, and they're, trying to reach out more and more people with that. And interestingly, they're experimenting also a lot, with different kind of solutions. Great, great. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Before I close the panel, I would like to, have your last comments on, how one should, any recommendations on how one should plan their, business journey to digital marketing. I think, Akshay, let's start with you first. You just gave, a kind of summarizing note to the entire panel. So I think let's not break your flow.
So just to say, when we started our digitalization activity, it was before the COVID or before the pandemic. And there's a one thought that I continuously say to everybody. Digitalization is a one-way street. Whether you fail in one effort, the world will continue to move towards digitalization. So that's an effort that you need to continue to make. Your entire organization should think digitally. It's not only the marketing, at the end of the day, your service that you do to the customer, if he buys online, it's a physical service. So
Right.
your digital marketing or your digital tools have to be backed by your service. So both the things have to go in tandem. So your digitalization will be a one-way street. You like it or not, you have to drive on that street.
Absolutely. Saurabh, what's your thoughts on this? Recommendations one should, how one should plan their business journey to digital.
So, I mean, see, digital for me or for anyone, I think still, I feel it's just one of the tools. So I think we have to first focus on the primary concern, which is the brand building side, clearly, and then look at digital from there. If we look at first digital and then look at the brand building side, I think we'll burn our pockets and we'll never recover. I think, this is my bit. And we should look beyond the social media. Definitely, because things will come and go. So medias will come and go, but you really have to think beyond it. Have a sustainable model for yourself in the digital on the World Wide Web. And maybe have your own website or whatever. Maybe your own tools. Maybe some loyalty programs or whatever. Through these days they have these new CRM softwares which are WhatsApp based or chat based. Where I think you really can interact with your consumers, your old customers, or the new ones, upsell, cross-sell, etc. I think it's important to be sustainable, and not just depend on someone. That's my recommendation.
Shreyans, what your thoughts?
I will say there are two things. First thing is that in terms of digital media, I will say all the offline retailers as a perspective. There's a general perspective that digital marketing will lead to only digital sales. So you should change that, because digital marketing is one of the marketing medium, and it can help you to increase the sales in the offline structure also. Because lots of people have this conviction ki mind mein ki we have to do the online marketing for online sales only. So this is not true. Second thing, you have to understand your target audience, because I think in India every business has different structure and every business is doing well. So depending on your target audience, you should plan your marketing strategy, or maybe digital or maybe traditional, both the structures.
And finally, Ruchita, what's your thoughts on it?
My recommendation is actually that, while there is a lot that digital can deliver organically, I would recommend all companies and brands to not under index or under invest on paid digital marketing. Because I think paid digital marketing allows each brand to own your narrative and be intentional and deliberate about the experience that you want to give to your customer. And, organic cannot allow that control in your hands, right? Only paid digital marketing can allow that control in your hands. So I think that is an important message that I want to give to everybody.
Wow, it was a lovely session. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving those great insights on, how digital marketing, how brands are looking at digital marketing, and, how it is helping them, increase their reach, scale, reach out to the right audiences, build brands, create performance. And it is absolutely clear that, that digital marketing is no longer an urban phenomenon. It has gone to the, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities. And as some of the statistics that were shared by Ruchita, on video consumption and how people are spending on it. So it's very clear that digital marketing is the way forward for brands at all levels across all cities and states to connect with the prospective audiences. Thank you very much. And now we move on to our next session of the day, a fireside chat on digital marketing influence on today's business with Mr. Amit Salunke, CEO and Director, Sumit Group. Hello and welcome everyone to this fireside session on digital marketing influence on today's business. Post-pandemic, most of the brands have upped their digital game and are now spending more on digital than ever to connect with their prospective audiences. Today, their customers have gone online and they're buying products from the platform, be it apparel, food, groceries, entertainment, or any other thing. Everything is being purchased online. Now, what has this done? This has forced the brands to think digital. They have gone digital and they have undertaken a massive digital transformation at their end. So without wasting any time, let us now understand from some of the brands on how they're shaping their digital marketing plans and what is working and what is not working from them. Let me welcome my guest for the day, Mr. Amit Salunke, CEO and Director of Sumit Group. Welcome, Amit.
Yes, thank you, Devesh.
Glad you can take out some time for this discussion.
Yes.
So Amit, my first question is we all went through the pandemic, okay, and it was a very, very difficult experience for the entire world. So how has pandemic ushered a change in the overall business and consumer behavior?
See, I believe before pandemic, in fact, in our case itself, we were of the opinion that FM, which is facility management, is more of a customer service segment and not a marketing segment, wherein marketing or any kind of advertisement happens only within print media, and marketing is done directly on call or maybe through emails, and direct customer relationship is preferred over digital medium.
Okay.
But then during pandemic, we saw how companies like Urban Clap were doing well in customer service segment. So that is where we thought that yes, it is high time that we also give a thought as to how we can take our services and showcase them on a digital medium and take it forward from there on. So yes, we did work out a model wherein we call it Ease This.
Okay.
So Ease This is something which is very similar to Urban Club, but with vast vast service portfolio.
Okay.
So yes, we are getting good response, but then yes, we are still thinking as to how we can ramp it up and take it to a better level.
Okay. So what were the the key points when you started this service? Ease This Off. And how did you shape the entire model? Because I understand that you've taken the business from you've pivoted the business from the traditional medium to the digital medium. So how did this journey started? I mean, I understand it started after pandemic, but yeah, how did it take off?
Yes, pandemic became like the catalyst for change, wherein we felt that while entire industry was shut, all client sites were closed. So how can we reach out to masses in terms of customer service? So that is where we thought that yes, if so pandemic became like the trigger wherein we thought that yes, it is high time that we just not just take our services to clients in a direct model, but we also look at a digital model to reach out to masses, wherein everything gets standardized and things become better. Okay. But at present, like 99% of the business is still going through direct medium. But somewhere in future, we do see that Ease This will become a good digital medium for people to get higher services and make use of them.
Okay. So, yes. Amit, how do you perceive, I mean, this digital model, you mentioned that, that you are anyways working on the site to, ramp up these services to a wide array of customers. Okay. Right. So what is the model that you are deploying in reaching out to those customers on the digital medium?
At present, it is a web-based model that we have rolled out. So anybody can go online and they can hire whatever services they are looking for. May it be cleaning services, may it be pest control services, may it be your house deep cleaning services. So all such services people can hire from a digital medium, and everything, right from hiring services to making payment, everything happens on digital medium itself.
Super. So you have kind of taken the complete physical experience to a digital experience
To
also.
a digital experience, yes.
Yes, that's very interesting. And how are you promoting these services? I mean, like, what kind of channels and you are using to push these services so that it reaches the right customers?
Yes. So obviously, search engine optimization and other things become crucial at this part. But then what we have also done is we have started sending out emailers, WhatsApp invites, wherein people can see what kind of services we are providing, and then immediately they can, upon touch on a link, they can immediately go and see what are the services, what are the rates, and how they can hire it. So SEO and mail and WhatsApp is what we are using as digital mediums.
Okay. And when you talk about the digital marketing, like you are using the search engine optimization, the WhatsApp messaging, the email messaging, and all. So how do you identify or ascertain the effectiveness of it? I mean, like, I'm trying to understand, have you reached a stage in your journey of digital evolution where you are also tracking the ROI of your efforts on the digital medium?
To a certain extent we do, but then as we are doing all this on a digital medium, there is no physical advertisement which happens, but then that is how we are able to track, but like it is not to the point. So we are not able to trace it exactly to the point, but then yes, roughly we can estimate as to what is the ROI on through these digital marketing mediums.
Okay. And to how many states, I mean, like, your business has expanded?
See, majorly we are present in 18 states, but then with the digital medium, we are present only in Maharashtra, majorly in Pune.
Okay, majorly in Pune.
Because that is the head office of the company. So that is where most of the business comes from. But then going forward, if we get an opportunity, then whatever states we are present in with our services, so there we can definitely try and further press these services.
So yours is more likely a B2B services, rather than a B2C service.
Yes, it is a B2B. But then when we were going for B2C, we did incur a few challenges, but then we are trying to overcome. And especially post-COVID, people are looking at these kind of services. So we are partnering with a few companies like in India, wherein previously they were focusing more on print media, but then recently they have also started going on digital. So there also a lot of help is coming from.
So is it too early for me to ask you this question that, how much of your marketing spends are deployed on the digital medium, both for B2B and B2C services versus the traditional medium? Let's say if you have 100 rupees earmarked for your overall annual marketing budget, and that's for B2B and B2C both. And, X is the amount on digital marketing and Y is the amount on traditional marketing. So is it too early in your journey to ask me this question?
No, but I can still give an answer to that. You can roughly estimate to about 80-20, wherein 80% is going on traditional mediums, which is print media, the local through radio or through local newspapers.
Right.
And maximum 20% would is what I would say would go on a digital medium.
Right. People say that, digital is a two-way medium where, interactions are possible from the other end also. While traditional has always been a static medium. You do a print ad, you do an outdoor, you do a radio FM ad, and you are the only one who is speaking. It's very difficult to gauge a feedback. So has the digital medium helped you on that front also, where you are able to get the customer feedbacks also?
No, not much is what I would say, because our focus so far has been on traditional mediums. So through digital medium, yes, it becomes a little one way, but then our experience with digital medium has been very minimal. That is why it is very difficult to say that such a scenario would is encountered.
Okay. And when I say, and when I look at your target audience, so in the B2B space, who is the actually decision maker for, your services?
In B2B segment, it obviously the purchase departments and the HR departments, because we encounter mostly with services and we support the admin departments of our clients. So that is where most of the decisions are coming from.
And are these folks online? Are these, is their target audience online? Are they using the digital medium to purchase stuff? Because it's important, because people mostly purchase stuff. A lot of people purchase stuff, which is, how would I say, B2C, like you mentioned, Urban Club. Okay,
Yes.
the urban company. So people purchase, the smaller services which are available on the Urban Club. But are people purchasing B2B services online?
No,
Your
I
category?
am unfortunately not as of now.
Okay.
Because see, the major quantum of business, when it happens, businesses do give a thought that they'd like to compare, they like to meet the client on a personal level.
Right.
They take the proposals, they negotiate, and then they take it further.
Correct.
So unfortunately, so far it is not so standardized wherein everything is happening online.
Right.
Small businesses like anybody looking at getting their house cleaned, or a small office area cleaned, or pest control services. So such services people do prefer to take it online because of the ease of getting or hiring these services. But then major quantum, wherever major quantums are involved, people do prefer having a face-to-face meeting wherein they can discuss their requirements, they can negotiate with the vendors, and then they would like to go for a closure.
So would it be right to say that digital medium is helping you to build a recall among your target audience, so that you are in the consideration set, and whenever they want the particular service, they can remember you and get connected with you over a call, and then for the presentations, and then for the final negotiations?
Yes, in B2C segment, obviously the digital medium is helping us very well, but in B2B segment, it is nowhere near.
Okay. So that's mostly for the brand recall, I would say,
Yes.
not for the performance part where,
Yes.
actual conversions are taking place.
Right. And this is just for branding purpose, wherein anybody who's taking services online, they do give a reference to other people that this is a good option to any of the online service company where we can take services from. So that happens. Branding does take place on B2C segment or a digital medium. But when it comes to B2B, it is still more physical and more in person.
And if I have to, I do not know much about this category, so I am more, kind of inquisitive to know about this category. How big is this category in India, the B2B part of this?
See, FM is basically, I believe, one of the largest industries in India.
Okay.
No building, no company, no industry can function ever without any kind of FM services. FM
Absolutely.
is basically all the support services that a company is looking for. Your cleaning services, your security services, maintenance of all kinds of HVAC system or ETP system. So any kind of repair, maintenance work, upkeeping of premises within the building. So all these are part of FM. And today I can say it without a doubt that FM is one of the most organized industries in India, wherein both from government department side and from client side, there are strict compliances which needs to be strictly followed in terms of measuring the services, service quality. And then it is, I believe, one of the largest industries in India. So as good as any automobile industry or a manufacturing industry.
And as the infrastructure grows, this industry will grow further and further, especially the enterprise infrastructure.
See, in fact, in the last 2 years, post-COVID, a lot of our clients have been coming to us demanding, how can we improve the service quality with the help of technology? So AI and IoT become two major players over here, wherein with the help of these technologies, we are able to provide services to the client in a much better way with reduced manpower. So in fact, in COVID, while companies were working with only 10% staff, one person, if someone was doing the cleaning activity, then it was becoming very difficult for him to address to all the issues in a large premise.
Oh,
So we ensured that all washrooms, all cabins were retrofitted with sensors, wherein upon usage, it was not you can say it was not corrective maintenance, but it was predictive maintenance. As to a cleaner was so well equipped with the technology, with a mobile app, that he can address to an issue before the issue actually happens.
wow.
So if a cleaning service is required after usage of 10 people, so at the 8th person itself, the housekeeper comes to know that this washroom is going to need cleaning. So we took it to that extent.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
And how much of this industry has gone digital?
See, at least I can say all the top players in the industry are providing digital services as well.
Okay.
So any company that is above 100 crores, they definitely have their own service portfolio, wherein digitally they enable their ground team to give a better performance at client sites.
Great, great. So, and how do you see, this is another, kind of a futuristic question. So how much of digital marketing spend, and you can give a ballpark figure, there's, would you see, coming out from the FM industry, in, let's say another couple of years? Because I understand the growth rate of this industry is very fast, and it's a need that will never go out of business. Okay. So how much of the digital marketing spends do you see as a kind of a ballpark figure that you see in next 1 or 2 or 3 years?
See, to be very honest, in terms of large businesses, we only get to do it with B2B customers. So we rarely get to go on a large scale with a B2C segment.
Okay.
But then, yes, if we look at companies like Urban Company and other players in that field, it definitely gives us an feeling that yes, it is time that we look at a B2C segment as well. And if we look at that, then for us itself, we feel that we should try and increase the number to at least 50% if compared to a traditional medium.
Okay.
So if we are spending 50 rupees on traditional medium, then the same number should be spent on a digital medium to have a better brand recognition, to have a better reach out to the masses. So that is that. I believe it would be difficult to give you a number in terms of entire industry, but then from company's perspective, I can definitely say that at least professional companies on a larger level will definitely look at going on a digital medium in future.
And I'm sure, like the customer acquisition of this, prospect of, going B2C will be also higher. So that's an additional cost that, every organization venturing in from the FM industry into the B2C space will be high.
Yes, it will be. See, at the end of the day, once when companies start looking at reducing the traditional medium, so print media and other traditional mediums wherein companies were spending high on their budgets. So at the same time, people will cut down on the traditional medium and market more on the digital medium.
Great, Amit. Thank you very much for your thoughts. Before I close the session, I want to understand one last thing, and this is like a comment from the overall industry point of view. How do you see the growing dominance of digital marketing in the overall B2B segment, especially in the FM services in the next 2 or 3 years? It can be inclusive of both B2B and B2C.
Yes, as I've said, in B2B segment, it is more about having an in-person meeting wherein it can be over a Zoom call as well, but then people prefer having multiple meetings and not just go online and purchase whatever service basket that they are looking at. So in terms of B2B, it is going to be a little difficult to go online. But then for services to B2C segment, that definitely needs to be more focused on, because then you get to reach out to masses, you get to reach out to a larger audience wherein people can check what are the services that you provide, and if they want, they can also recommend to others, and that is how the referral marketing also happens in that case.
Great. Thank you, Amit. Thank you for those lovely thoughts, and taking out time for sharing sharing the industry insights with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Devesh. Thank you.
So with this, we now come to the end of the discussions. We saw some very interesting insights coming from leaders across multiple categories on how they plan to take forward their digital marketing journey to the next level. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining this session. Look forward to meeting you again.